Today's topic is very important for coaches, and as a coach, it's very important for us to understand the importance of anti-doping and the consequence of doping. Today's topic is doping and will be conducted by Dr. Ankush Gupta. Dr. Ankush Gupta joined National Anti-Doping Agency in 2009, and he has been working in the organization from then onward. Dr. Gupta is involved in various key activities in the department, such as spreading anti-doping awareness among sportspersons, supporting staff, and coaches, supervision in result management process of dope positive athletes, imparting training to doping control officers for purpose of sample collection, etc., are his additional duty also. He has delivered various seminars and sessions on doping hazard for the players and coaches of the country. We welcome Dr. Ankush Gupta. Sir, you can start.
Fine. Very good morning to all of the participants.
Achha, before we start, Dr. Ankush Gupta, let me address Mr. Monal Choksi. Mr. Monal Choksi is the Secretary General of Swimming Federation of India. So
welcome, Dr. Ankush.
Yeah, thank you.
You can start.
Thank you, Partha. Yeah.
Before I start, I shall be very thankful to the Swimming Federation of India and the Sports Authority of India for this initiatives, especially in this breakdown condition and the situation. We can't do any much with regard to the training and all sporting activities, and it is a very good time for all of us to to upgrade our knowledge in every arena of sports, and anti-doping is also very important aspects. So I hope my voice is clear to everyone.
Yes, it is. It is clear.
Okay, fine. As you all of know that National Anti-Doping Agency is a body responsible for promotion of anti-doping activities entire the country, and we started functioning in 2009 onwards. And hello,
we can hear you. Please continue.
Yeah. Okay. We know that when the Commonwealth Games was to be hosted in our country in Delhi, and for hosting any international competition in such a scale, anti-doping organization or the anti-doping body needs to be in place in every country, the host country. And with this initiative, Government of India had decided to establish National Anti-Doping Agency and to promote anti-doping, to check the doping substances in the sports persons, or to make the environment dope-free, basically. And we started functioning in 2009. And it is a Government of India agency, anti-doping agency, the autonomous body of the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports, Government of India. And we all know that doping is a very secret, very sophisticated subject in sports. As next slide, please. Because a lot of athletes, even the Olympians also, all the coaches know better than me, because they are part of the mega events and Olympics also, Commonwealth Games, Asian Games. You have seen, I mean, physically that a number of cases, number of champions, they indulge in these kinds of activities due to sometimes unintentional and of course intentional also. And finally they caught with the doping activities, and the prizes, the medals, all these to be stripped out, and the country's, nation's name and fame is to be compromised. Next slide, please. I will not go into the detail of these cases, of very popular cases of doping and all in history. That Ben Johnson's, you might be knowing, and he was the the first position holder in the Olympics, Seoul Olympics, and later on he caught in doping and all. Next slide, please. This is again Seoul Olympic case, and that lady, I mean, I think she won more than 2 or 3 Olympic medals in that one single Olympics, and later on she caught in doping. Next one. Basically, the idea is that we all know that doping is harmful, is not acceptable in sports, and it has to be a zero tolerance, basically, and we all have to fight together so that our boys, our sports person, they do not come into these kinds of activities. Next one, please. Next one. These are the few examples of earlier cases, and this is unique cases of cycling. We all know that Armstrong was the overall champion, and he put the record of the world champion record and all, but later on he caught in 2012, and he has served this life ban for this anti-doping punishment and all. Next one. He was caught positive for taking the substances of erythropoietin hormone. EPO is a substance that is misused by sometimes the long distance runners, cyclists, and he was one of the unique case of the misuse of erythropoietin hormone. Basically, the Olympic motto is also say that we all come under the anti-doping and this sporting community, and there should not be concept that we have to win at any cost. There should be a fair competition in place, and so that the Olympic motto can be achieved. And what is this Olympic motto? It is not important what you have won or lost, but how you have played the game. This is very important for all of us, so that the fair play spirit and the doping prohibition can be maintained, and one should not indulge in this kind of activities. Next one. Doping, we all know that it is a consumption of the prohibited substances which is not allowed by World Anti-Doping Body, National Anti-Doping Agency, and sometimes it is the use of prohibited substances or methods, any kinds of cheating which is not supposed to be happened on by the athlete, which eventually leads to the enhancement of its performance. And in other way, we all know that the consumption of the prohibited substances और कोई भी जो बैंड मेडिसिन होती है या ड्रग्स है, उसका अगर किसी खिलाड़ी के बॉडी के अंदर एंट्री करना, and later on if the analysis confirm that particular substances was present in the athlete's body, it is called a doping. In addition to the consumption of prohibited substances, it is also very important that there are some acts or some misconducts on the athlete's part which may result to the anti-doping rule violation, or which may indirectly result to the doping activities that we will discuss today. And the athlete and the sport person, support staff, coaches, all the physios, doctors, or the team, they all must know that what are those kinds of things that should not occur. Next one. There is also one part of blood doping is also that we all know that the urine sample need to be collected by the athletes and for the detection of the prohibited substances. And majority of the prohibited substances or the markers or the metabolites can easily be detected in the urine itself. But like in case of growth hormone or other blood transfusion, the urine collection is not sufficient. For that purpose, as per the recommended guidelines of the World Anti-Doping Body, we also collect the blood samples of the athletes. There are two factors of blood sample collection. One is the detection of the growth hormone or any other prohibited substances that cannot be easily detected in the urine. And second main purpose of the blood collection is to generate, to keep the biological passport of the athlete. In our country, we have registered, we have prepared a pool of some 100 athletes or 110 athletes. That is always subject to the change depending upon the performance of the athletes or depending upon the games they are going to participate. For those athletes, we try to generate an athlete biological passport. For that purpose, blood collection is very important. And with the preparation of this anti-doping biological passport, anti-ABP passport program, one will able to identify in a later course indirect methods detection of the doping. Means there is a direct detection of the method and indirect detection. Direct detection means the consumption of the prohibited substance that can easily be detected in the urine or blood. But indirect detection of the profile of the sport person is very important, because today we are in the advanced field of technology and all these things, and we all know that there are groups of scientists or the doctors, they are involved in promoting the doping, and so that the athlete can consume the proper substances and they cannot be easily detected by the anti-doping agencies. For that purpose, the WADA has also launched a program for detection of indirect detection of the proper substances by monitoring, by analyzing the blood profile markers of the athletes, that records needs to be maintained by the WADA, and so that at any moment of time they can check that this particular profile marker or some hematocrit or some other blood components is variably increasing or decreasing, and this can be detected. Next one, please. Basically, principle of strict liability lies that as per the WADA code, as per the anti-doping agency, even as per the IOC norms, International Olympic Committee, that the athlete is responsible for what goes into his or her body, because it is the body of the athlete. And if athlete is found to consume any kinds of prohibited substances, and later on, then he or she has to be answerable. They have to explain their case, that why, in what circumstances they have consumed, which they were not supposed to do. Basically, the rules are very strict, and athlete has to be answerable with the consumption of the prohibited substances. Next one, please. As you know, that National Anti-Doping Agency is a national body, national agency, and responsible for promotion of anti-doping activities in an entire country. And we follow, we adopt the anti-doping policies, international standards, guidelines as formulated by the World Anti-Doping Agency. World Anti-Doping Agency is a world body responsible for making the universal acceptable guidelines, standards that can be applicable entire the global or the whole world. Under this World Anti-Doping Code, there are sets of rules, norms, international standards, responsibilities for athletes, for anti-doping organization, for national sport federations, international sport federations. All these things are in place in a uniformal way. And we can briefly describe that what are those international standards. First one is the testing and investigation guidelines is there. By virtue of this document, the anti-doping agency, they had to follow, they have to adopt the universal policies, and with regard to the sample collection, with regard to the training, imparting training to the qualified doping control officers, how the sample is to be stored, how the sample is to be collected, how it's to be transported, and where the sample needs to be analyzed. Basically, the World Anti-Doping Agency has certified some number of laboratories entire the world. And in our country also, there is a laboratory. We all know that National Dope Testing Laboratory, which is unfortunately under currently suspension by the world body. And otherwise, they are permitted, they are certified by the WADA to analyze the samples. Next one is the prohibited substances, the list of the medicines or the drugs that is in place for the athletes, so that they can know what are the substances, what are the banned medicines that they are, they should be very careful. This particular prohibited list documents is a universal document, and it is not going to be changed every time, every month, or every 6 months. It is a document which is to be revised by 1st January of every year. 1st January of 2020, they have launched, they have prepared this new sets of prohibited list that is applicable all over the world. 1st January 2021 will come, this list 2020 version will be invalid, and next version of the 2021 will be in place, which describes the markers, the parent compounds, the medicines, or the formula or the chemical structures that come under the doping. Next one is the therapeutic use exemption. It is a very important procedure, and there is a guidelines in place by the WADA, that who can apply the therapeutic use exemption, in what circumstances this can be permitted. And basically, I can tell you in brief that therapeutic use exemption is the procedure, is the process by which any athlete who is failing any illness or any kind of sickness, and the qualified doctor come to know the conclusion that that this particular athlete need to be prescribed by any medicines which is coming under the category of the prohibited list. Then in those circumstances, the athlete can apply a TUE to the NADA, to the National Sport Federation, and they can obtain the permission for consumption of that particular medicines if the TUE committee grants such permission. I will go into the detail that what is the process of filing the TUE and in what time the athlete need to file in advance, like how many days before they are going to start the treatment and all. Next one is a laboratory. As I told, there is a document in place, guidelines for the laboratories, which is certified by the WADA for analysis of dope samples collected by the anti-doping agencies. Next one is protection of privacy rights of the athlete. It is also very important that we as a National Anti-Doping Agency or the laboratory or any body, anti-doping agency, we deal with the athlete's personal information sometimes, because like whereabouts information, like any other sickness details or illness issues are there with the athletes. And we are also bound to comply that this particular personal information of the athletes should not be disclosed to anybody who is not going to deal with that cases and all. So the strict procedure for this protection of privacy rights of the athlete is in place, and we all have to obey for the guidelines. Next one, please. Anti-doping program in our country. You all know that there is a body responsible for promotion of anti-doping activities, sporting activities in our country, the Ministry of Youth Affairs and Sports. And NADA is one part of that under autonomous body of the ministry, and NDTL is another part of the autonomous body under the ministry. NADA roles is basically to do the test planning. So annual test plan is to be maintained, is to be prepared, and accordingly it needs to be complied, that where the sample needs to be collected, how many athletes need to be go under this for specific testing. Like there is some sports specific testing is there, like in swimming, if for sprint there is no use of erythropoietin hormone, then we should not conduct for the samples for the collection of the erythropoietin testing. Maybe for some sprint swimmers, for short distance swimmers, there is a role of some anabolic agents or some stimulants is there. Then we need to collect the samples of the swimmers for the analysis of that particular stimulants or anabolic agents. Accordingly, there is a stringent guidelines prepared by WADA, like sport specific analysis, technical document is there, and accordingly we need to prepare our test plan for the whole year. Then after the sample collection, we depute our doping control team for the collection of the samples, and then after any adverse analytical finding or any anti-doping rule violation happens for that particular, we start result management, and accordingly, as per the rules of NADA, the necessary punishment or the sanction need to be imposed to the athletes for violating the anti-doping rules. Education awareness is also very important aspect of NADA, and we try to spread the anti-doping awareness among the sport persons, coaches, because there are a lot of camps, national training camps operated by Sports Authority of India, other state governments also. We try to incorporate such anti-doping education awareness program mandatory in such camps, and regularly our experts, our team officials, the doping control officers, they visit the site centers and conduct such kinds of anti-doping awareness program. NDTL, National Dope Testing Laboratory, is a laboratory certified by WADA, the World Anti-Doping Body. Their primary role is to analyze the sample with regard to the technical document, the guidelines in place as per the WADA, and accordingly they generate the findings, whether it is a negative findings or positive findings, or there is some additional recommendation for any particular samples, or further analysis is required. All these technical procedures or the analytical things, protocols is to be adopted by the National Dope Testing Laboratory. Next one, please. Basically, the drugs that is available in the market is mainly meant for the purpose of the therapeutic purpose. And we are seeing that in sporting community, or sometimes these drugs are misused by certain groups of persons, which is not good, and because the drugs are mainly synthesized or manufactured for the purpose of medical treatment or the therapeutic purpose. But there is a drug abuse in sports. Like these particular drugs can be misused because they have got some additional the characters of enhancement of performance in when taken with the 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 systematic doses. Basically, the therapeutically, if we see, the doctors prescribe any drugs for the patient for treatment of any sickness. There is a control dose. There is a dose that is decided, that is scientifically decided or medically it is proven. And then after, the doctor prescribes that particular drugs to any patient. That is we call as the pharmacological dose or the therapeutic dose. On the other aspect, if we see the drug abuse in sports, or any layperson or any unqualified human being inject that particular drugs or consume without the advice of the doctor or any ailment purpose, then it goes into the adverse effects in the body, and there is some overdose happens, and that can lead to the harmful side effects in the human body. And these particular side effects can be long term also, or can be reversible also, but sometimes it is, most of the times it is irreversible, and which results in the damage of to our vital organs like kidney, liver, heart. Sometimes heart attacks can be very, very common of using these kinds of drugs when it is going to be overdosed or uncontrolled drugs. Next one, please. Drug is basically a chemical substances that interact into the body to alter its biochemical system, or chemical reaction is there, and then, but the drug is designed for medical and therapeutic purpose, not for the drug abuse, or not for the performance enhancement that we know that in doping. Next one. As I told that the National Dope Testing Laboratory or any certified laboratory by the WADA are the responsible bodies for conduct of this analysis in the blood samples or the urine samples of the athlete. There is no another laboratory in our country which is not certified by WADA can do the analysis of this doping substances. One should be very clear that not all the laboratory, whether it is an NABL laboratory or any ADPAR laboratory, is responsible for conduct of analysis of sample for dope analysis purpose. Only the WADA accredited or WADA certified laboratory can do the analysis. Next one. Now I can tell you the other aspect of anti-doping violation, rule violation, or the doping that we sometimes miss or sometimes ignore. Next one, please. Next slide. Because the consumption of the prohibited substances is the commonest type of anti-doping rule violation. We all know that athlete is not supposed to consume any medicines without a valid therapeutic use exemption, so that he or she can be positive for the dope substances. There are 10 types of anti-doping rule violation you can see in the slide, starting from top center. The first one is the prohibited substance consumption, or the presence of prohibited substances. If the athlete has consumed any prohibited substances or the markers or the parent compound, and eventually after the testing, it has resulted that this particular guy has consumed the prohibited substances. This is the commonest type of 2.1 violation. Article under 2.1 is the commonest. Next one, there are 9 other anti-doping violation or anti-doping rule violation, or the indirectly you can say the doping activities can be found on the part of the athlete or the support staff. Sometimes we can see what are those. Second one is the use of prohibited substances or attempted use. What is this? Basically, if any particular athlete is trying to use or attempted use of any kinds of prohibited substances, it is also an offense. It is also an anti-doping rule violation. Why is it so? Because athlete cannot say that I am not consuming these corrupted substances, because you can collect my samples and it will not come into my urine or the results. It should not be the explanation. If the athlete, there is sufficient proof, evidence is there that that particular guy or the athlete has tried to consume or tried to use that particular substances or markers, then it is again an anti-doping rule violation. And the athlete cannot say that I have not consumed, I am only using, I am only keeping with me, I am not going to consume. It should not be the explanation, because the athlete should not be in a position of also that particular corrupted substances in addition to the consumption, in addition to the use. Next one is Article 2.3. You can see on the right part of the slide, that refusal or evading to the doping control. There are a number of cases happened that when our doping control officers approach to the athlete and sometime for the dope sample collection during any event or in the training camps, and that particular athlete, sometimes they say that I'm not going to give my sample, or they try to make some cheats or some excuses on the ground or the on spot, and they refuse to provide the sample, or sometimes they evade with the doping control procedure. This is also not allowed, not accepted as per the rule, as per the guidelines, and that particular athlete can be held guilty for the violation of refusal, Article 2.3 under the anti-doping code. Means all the athletes selected for the dope control, they have to be readily give their sample to the authority, and there should not be any hindrance in the process, or any kinds of refusal or evasion should be in place. Next article is a 2.4 under the anti-doping rules of NADA, which says that there is a compulsion on some selected pool of athletes to file their whereabouts. It is very important. The first thing is very important, that the whereabout clause. What is this whereabout clause? Whereabout clause is the policy, is the guidelines, is the standards that need to be applicable for only registered testing pool athlete. What is this registered testing pool? RTP pool is the pool of athlete that contains, the senior level athletes, elite athletes. They are going to be part of the international team or in any Olympic games or any mega events. And National Anti-Doping Agency, they create such pool of elite athletes, entire the country, involving every sport discipline, every high risk sport discipline or a famous sport discipline in that particular country. For example, I can tell you that in our country, registered testing pool athlete is at present consisting of 110 elite athletes. 110 उसमें खिलाड़ी हैं जो elite pool के हैं, जो international participation होता है इनका, and they are at their very good rank in their particular sport discipline. So these RTP athletes के लिए ही whereabout applicable होता है, whereabout clause. And under this whereabout clause, the RTP athletes, they need to tell the anti-doping authority about their training address, their any future competition, or they have to provide a 1 hour slot in everyday basis for the next period of 3 months. This we call as the filing of the whereabout information to the authority. Is it clear to everybody that what is this whereabout? Whereabout is the clause, is the guidelines to be applicable not for all athletes. Only a selected group of athletes, senior athlete, elite athletes, they have to obey this whereabout clause, and accordingly they have to provide their address detail, their residential details, or the near future competition on every day basis, and they have to provide a 1 hour time for testing, that they are available for the testing if the doping control team of the NADA or the federation, they come to collect the samples. This is the filing of the whereabout clause. Other part of this whereabout clause is the mistest. Suppose the athlete has provided the whereabout information on timely basis for a quarterly basis to the authority, but to the declared residential address or the training address, the athlete was not available for the testing, for the dope testing. This we call as the mistest. Means the athlete has timely provided the whereabouts, but at the declared time, at the declared address, at the declared venue, the athlete was not available for the purpose of the dope testing. So any combination of filing failure means the athlete has not provided the whereabouts to the authority on a timely basis, or athlete was provided the whereabouts, but he was not available, he missed the test. Any combination of this filing failure or the missed test, any three consecutive filing failure or the missed test or any combination of both of them can result anti-doping rule violation if it is happened during the period of 12 months. एक साल के दौरान अगर किसी आरटीपी एथलीट्स का या जो एथलीट रिस्पॉन्सिबल हैं वेयरअबाउट्स के लिए वो फाइल नहीं करते अपना वेयरअबाउट्स ऑन टाइमली बेसिस, या फिर फाइल किए हुए वेयरअबाउट्स पर वो मौजूद नहीं मिलते हैं डोप टेस्टिंग के लिए, अगर ये 3 बार हो जाता है 12 महीने के पीरियड में, तो वो एक एंटी डोपिंग रूल वायलेशन है। ये कई खिलाड़ियों को, कई हमारे कोचेस को, सीनियर कोचेस को इसके बारे में जानकारी नहीं होती है। वो बहुत जरूरी है जानना कि वो एथलीट को, अगर वो उस ग्रुप में आ रहे हैं, पूल में आ रहे हैं, तो उनको गाइड करें, सजेस्ट करें कि भाई आपकी ये रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बनती है, अदरवाइज यू कैन unknowingly can violate this anti-doping guidelines, and otherwise you will be indulged in doping activities. तो ये तो 4 प्रकार के हो गए, आप देखेंगे परचेंस, यूज, रिफ्यूजल एंड वायलेशन ऑफ रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ वेयरअबाउट्स। नेक्स्ट लेफ्ट हैंड पे आप देखेंगे, टॉप लेफ्ट हैंड पे, टेम्परिंग और अटेम्प्टेड टेम्परिंग। दिस इज आर्टिकल 2.5 of anti-doping rules, which says that during the process of doping control or the sample collection procedure, the athlete is not supposed to tamper with any part of doping activity. Means the smooth process should be adopted during the doping control. The athlete is complied with the anti-doping rules, policy of the NADA and the WADA, and during the procedure of the sample collection, if any tampering happened or attempted tampering happened on part of the athlete, it is again a violation of anti-doping rules and which can come into the doping activities. Next one is a trafficking of the prohibited substances, means any kinds of import, export, commercialization of the prohibited substances or the anabolic and androgenic steroids or any kinds of stimulants which is not allowed in sporting activities is banned always by the athlete or the support staff. Otherwise, it will be a violation of the anti-doping rules. Next one is a possession of prohibited substances, means the athlete should not be in a position of possession of prohibited substances any times unless the athlete has a valid therapeutic use exemption for taking such particular medicines for a period of prescribed period of the medication. Otherwise, it is not allowed for any athlete to be in possession of the prohibited substances or any kinds of banned medicines or the drugs. Next है administration. आप लोअर बॉटम पे देख सकते हैं, एक स्क्वायर बना हुआ है जिसमें एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन और अटेम्प्टिंग एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन। मीन्स द सीनियर एथलीट or any friend of the athlete or any co-athlete is not supposed to help the athlete for these kinds of injection or any kinds of consumption of the prohibited substances. Administration in any way, it can result in anti-doping rule violation for those particular guy who is trying to assist, who is trying to administer the doping substances into the body of the any other athlete. Next one is the complicity and prohibited association. This 2 clause has been added by the WADA in 2015 anti-doping version of the code. And what it tells, because it has been added additionally, because it tells that the WADA has observed that sometimes the athlete does not start the doping itself individually. There are the group, there are the supporting factors involved. Sometimes for encouraging the athlete to dope. The athlete, they do not start themselves, and sometimes there is a factor involved behind. So complicity is the clause, is the requirement of the code, which says that any kinds of encouragement, aiding, abetting, conspiring doping activities is also banned on part of everybody. Means it can be an athlete, it can be a coach, it can be a doctor, it can be a physio. If there is some kinds of complicity involved to hide the doping activities or any kinds of manipulation in the doping activities, then it can result a possible sanction under the code, or the disciplinary action can be initiated. Next one is a prohibited association. It is the last one of this anti-doping types of violation. Article is there 2.10. Prohibited association means if any athlete come to know that he or she is being trained by any coach or the doctor, or there is a trainer who is imparting the training to that particular athlete, and he has served any period of or he is currently serving the ineligibility or any kinds of punishment by any anti-doping authority or the sporting bodies for violation of anti-doping rule and other doping activities, then he or she can voluntarily say that I'm getting trained under this particular guy or trainer who is imparting coaching to me, and he is serving the period of eligibility or he is serving the ban, currently banned. So this kinds of association is prohibited on part of the athlete, and athletes must come forward if they come to know that such particular person is involved in training or imparting and which is currently serving the period of ineligibility by anti-doping authority. So I hope these guidelines and these additional responsibility obligations on the athlete part or support staff also is understandable to everybody. And next one, please. Next slide. Now the prohibited substances, as I told that there is a comprehensive list of medicine which tells us that what are the prohibited substances for athletes. For that they are not allowed to take or consume. This is a single list worldwide. I mean, there is no another list applicable even in the world also. Only one comprehensive list of prohibited substances containing the names and metabolites of the prohibited substances, and it is going to be revised every year by WADA, World Anti-Doping Agency. Next one. To start with this prohibited list, I mean, we can segregate, we can describe the prohibited substances in basically three categories. First one is the prohibited drugs or the medicine or the markers which is banned for all times. Next one is the prohibited substances or the markers which is banned during in competition. Third one is the prohibited substances which is banned, which is prohibited in particular sports. What is this first kind of medicines or the drugs which is applicable all times? Means the athlete is in competition, athlete is training in national camps, athlete is residing at their home, every time. I mean, all times these kinds of medicines, these groups of medicines are always banned or not allowed by any sport persons to consume. Next category, second category is the medicines, group of medicine which is only applicable or only prohibited or only banned during the in competition period. Otherwise, it is not banned in the training period or athlete is residing at their home. Third category of the medicine is the medicine which is only banned during the particular sports, like sport specific prohibited substances. Otherwise, it is not banned in any other sports. Next slide, please. What are those chemical name and the drugs which is coming into the first group of the medicines, which means the substances which is prohibited all times. It starts from SO to S5. SO is a non-approved substances. S1 is the anabolic agents. S2 peptide hormones, growth related factors. S3 is a beta-2 agonist. S4 is the hormone and metabolic modulators. S5 is the diuretics and other masking agents. These 6 categories of the medicines coming into the first groups are always banned by any athlete, whether it is in competition or out of competition, anywhere. Next slide, please. Next group of medicine is only prohibited in competition. What are those category of substances? Is stimulants, narcotics, cannabinoids, glucocorticoids. ये 4 प्रकार की जो मेडिसिन है, स्टिमुलेंट्स, नार्कोटिक्स, कैनाबोनाइड्स, ग्लूकोकॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड्स, ये केवल कंपटीशन में बैन है, एप्लीकेबल हैं. अगर कोई एथलीट कंपटीशन में पार्टिसिपेट कर रहा है, उस दौरान उसका डोप टेस्ट होता है, तो वहां पर जो सैंपल कलेक्शन किया जाता है हमारे द्वारा, उसमें केवल इन मेडिसिन की ही जांच होती है, और इसके साथ साथ जो आपने पहले ग्रुप में देखा, फर्स्ट ग्रुप में ऑल टाइम्स मेडिसिन, उनकी जांच होती है। अदरवाइज अगर सैंपल आउट ऑफ कंपटीशन कलेक्शन किया जाता है, मीन्स ट्रेनिंग कैंप्स में लिया जाता है खिलाड़ी का, या घर पर जाकर लिया जाता है, तो ये 4 ग्रुप ऑफ जो मेडिसिन हैं, S6, S7, S8, S9, ये प्रोहिबिटेड नहीं होती हैं, डोपिंग में नहीं आती हैं। थर्ड कैटेगरी जो आप देखेंगे, सब्सटेंसेस प्रोहिबिटेड इन पर्टिकुलर स्पोर्ट्स, ये बीटा ब्लॉकर्स हैं। इसमें पहले अल्कोहल भी होता था, अभी वो रिमूव कर दिया गया है पिछले 2 साल से, और ये बीटा ब्लॉकर्स इज ओनली prohibited in some particular sports. What are those sports? I can tell you in the later part. And these particular 3 baskets are there of these particular medicines which can be prohibited. Next one, for any sports. Now we can start. We can briefly describe that in each classes, in each category, what are those medicine and common examples of those. Non-approved substances we talked about. It is any pharmacological substances or preparation or medicines which has not got the approval of any health regulatory government authority, or the drugs at preclinical trial or the clinical trial or any R&D stage is always prohibited or is not allowed for any sport persons for the consumption purpose. Otherwise, we can also say that the drugs meant for the purpose of, therapeutic purpose for the animal, or the animal drugs, veterinary medicines, is always banned, which is not primarily meant for the human therapeutic purpose. Next one, please. S1 category says that anabolic agents. This is the most notorious groups of medicines, anabolic androgenic steroids. We all know that if you collect the samples of 10 athletes, more than 6 or 7 athletes, they come positive for this type of anabolic and androgenic steroids. It is most widespread abuse drugs in the country, in the world. They are basically derivatives of male sex hormone, like testosterone, anabolic agents, anabolic androgenic steroids. There are 2 kinds of anabolic agents are there, exogenous and endogenous. Exogenous means the substances, the derivatives cannot be prepared by human body. It has to be taken from outside. In a normal course, then the normal human body cannot produce this inside our body. The examples are stanozolol and nandrolone, etc. Endogenous is the substances which can be produced by human being in a normal course of condition, but it is also available as a derivative, as a synthetic form that can be taken from outside, like testosterone, dihydrotestosterone, etc. There are some other examples also. Next slide, please. So there is a machine, there is a system in place in the laboratory which can easily detect that any particular endogenous anabolic androgenic steroids is of the endogenous origin or has it taken from outside as a synthetic derivatives. Why athletes use anabolic androgenic steroids? It is very common that these anabolic androgenic steroids, they are the main substances to promote the body growth or the muscle development or the stamina. That is why we can see that number of bodybuilders, power lifters, or where the strength is required in any sports, they sometimes misuse these kinds of anabolic agents, and so that they can lift maximum amount of weight, or their body can be strong and muscle can be developed in a better way. Next slide, please. Next category is H2 substances or category peptide hormones, metabolic substances, growth hormones, related substances. In this particular class, there is an important medicines or the erythropoietin, or you can say the erythropoietin stimulating agents, ESA is there. This particular EPO medicine is misused for those groups of athletes which require the endurance activities, like you can say the marathon athletes, long distance runners, cyclists, and sometimes swimmers also. They can where the long distance running is required or endurance activity is required, because these erythropoietin substances, they can help our body to increase their RBCs, or they can make the more and more number of hemoglobins, so that more and more oxygen can be inhaled and oxygen carrying capacity बढ़ जाती है, जिसकी वजह से ये सब्सटेंसेस हेल्प करते हैं खून बनाने में, और ऑक्सीजन बढ़ने से उनकी एंडोरेंस बढ़ जाती है, एरोबिक कैपेसिटी बढ़ जाती है, और ये इसके बेसिकली मिसयूज होते हैं। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। इसी कैटेगरी में एक और मेडिसिन आती हैं, आप देखेंगे कि ग्रोथ हार्मोन्स, इट इज कोरियोनिक गोनाडोट्रोपिन सीजी, और ल्यूटिनाइजिंग हार्मोन इन मेल्स, इट इज बैन, इट इज नॉट अलाउड प्रोहिबिटेड इन स्पोर्ट्स, and there are a lot of side effects of this growth hormone, because growth hormone बॉडी में अगर जरूरत से ज्यादा हो जाते हैं तो फिर एक्रोमेगाली एक कंडीशन जिसको हम कहते हैं ओवर ग्रोथ ऑफ बोन्स, हाथ और पैर की हड्डियां बहुत बड़ी बड़ी हो जाती हैं, लंबी हो जाती हैं, जिनकी वजह से उनकी जॉइंट्स में प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है, और जॉइंट्स डिसलोकेशन और बहुत सारी उसमें जॉइंट अल्टरेशंस हो जाते हैं और उसमें प्रॉब्लम आ जाती है, जिसकी वजह से ये ओवर ग्रोथ हो जाती है। और डायबिटीज मेलाइटस, बिकॉज ग्रोथ हार्मोन कैन मेक द बॉडी मेटाबॉलिज्म एक्टिव, एंड जो ग्लूकोज लेवल है उसको वो बढ़ जाता है, और इस वजह से कॉम्प्लिकेशन हो जाती है। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। तीसरी कैटेगरी है जो बीटा एगोनिस्ट की, ये बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट है, आप सभी ध्यान से सुनिएगा, क्योंकि इसमें वो मेडिसिन होती हैं जो कि अस्थमा, हम सभी जानते हैं जो ब्रोंकाइटिस प्रॉब्लम होता है, जिसमें कई बार खिलाड़ियों को किसी को भी एक इनहेलर की आवश्यकता होती है, उनके लंग्स में सांस को ठीक से पहुंचाने के लिए, ऑक्सीजन का फ्लो बढ़ाने के लिए डॉक्टर्स उनको इनहेलर्स प्रेस्क्राइब करते हैं, और ये बीटा एगोनिस्ट कैटेगरी में आते हैं जो कि प्रोहिबिटेड होते हैं खिलाड़ियों को। ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है हम लोगों के लिए जानना। बट जहाँ तक बात होती है थेरेपेटिक यूज एग्जेम्पशन की, तो वाडा ने भी इसको ध्यान में रखते हुए ये मेडिसिन का थ्रेशोल्ड बैन किया है, मीन्स इसकी लिमिट उन्होंने कंट्रोल कर दी है यूरिन में, कि यूरिन में इसकी मात्रा थेरेपेटिक डोज अगर ली गई है तो उससे ज़्यादा नहीं आएगी, और अगर इसका मिसयूज किया गया है, ओवर डोज लिया गया है, तो वो उसकी यूरिन में डिटेक्शन बढ़ जाएगा। तो हम बात करते हैं जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल सॉल्ब्यूटामॉल। सॉल्ब्यूटामॉल इज द मेन, फॉर्मेट्रॉल, ये सारी ड्रग्स होती हैं बीटा एगोनिस्ट में। सॉल्ब्यूटामॉल अगर डॉक्टर प्रेस्क्राइब करता है कोई इनहेलर या बीटा एगोनिस्ट जिसमें सॉल्ब्यूटामॉल होता है, तो वो सॉल्ब्यूटामॉल जो की डोज है, कंट्रोल डोज जिसको हम कहते हैं, थेरेपेटिक डोज लेते हैं, तो उसके बाद किसी भी कंडीशन में वो यूरिन में उसका थ्रेशोल्ड 1000 नैनोग्राम पर ml से ज़्यादा नहीं आए इन ए नॉर्मल कोर्स। अगर ओवर डोज लिया गया है या कुछ और एडिशन डोज ली गई है, तो वहाँ पर यूरिन में सॉल्ब्यूटामॉल का कंसंट्रेशन 1000 नैनोग्राम से बढ़ के आ सकता है। वहाँ पर भी केस होता है खिलाड़ी के पास में एक्सप्लेन करने का कि क्यों उसने ये ओवरडोज ली, और वहाँ पर स्टडी परफॉर्म की जाती है, लाइक फार्माकोकाइनेटिक्स करने के बाद लॉन्गिट्यूडनल प्रोफाइल देखा जाता है कि पता लग जाता है कि खिलाड़ी ने ये नॉर्मल डोज लेने के बाद ही इसकी यूरिन में जो थ्रेशोल्ड है वो बढ़कर आ गया, तो इसमें इसकी कोई फॉल्ट नहीं है। तो ऐसे केसेस हुए हैं कुछ एक दो पास्ट हिस्ट्री में, जिसमें हमने ये देखा है कि ये जो थेरेपेटिक डोज लिया है खिलाड़ी ने, उसके बाद भी उसके यूरिन थ्रेशोल्ड में 1000 नैनोग्राम से बढ़कर उसका लेवल आ गया, और अदरवाइज 1000 नैनोग्राम से कम आता है जब लेबोरेटरी को पता लगता है कि ये सॉल्ब्यूटामॉल की कंसंट्रेशन 1000 से कम है यूरिन में, तो वहाँ पर कोई भी डोपिंग का चार्ज नहीं लगता है, क्योंकि वो थेरेपेटिक डोज है, वो कंट्रोल डोज है, वो अलाउड डोज है, खिलाड़ी ने लिया है। तो इसके लिए बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट एक चीज़ समझने वाली बात है कि जो भी थेरेपेटिक डोज डॉक्टर दे बीटा एगोनिस्ट की या किसी भी इनहेलर्स की, वही लेनी चाहिए हमको, या किसी भी खिलाड़ी जो कि इससे ग्रस्त है अस्थमा से। और वहाँ पर डोप टेस्ट जब उसको देना होता है, जब डोप टेस्ट दे रहा है, तो एक डिक्लेरेशन होता है, एक कॉलम डोपिंग कंट्रोल फॉर्म पे, जिसमें उसको ड्यूली मेंशन करना है कि ये वो मेडिसिन ले रहा है या उसने पिछले दिनों में ये मेडिसिन ली है। उससे एक कोरिलेशन होगा, कल को इन केस कोई पॉजिटिव फाइंडिंग्स आती है डोपिंग की लेबोरेटरी के रिजल्ट्स के बाद में, तो डोपिंग कंट्रोल फॉर्म पे जो खिलाड़ी का डिक्लेरेशन है वो हेल्प कर सकता है उसको, और वो बता सकता है कि भाई ये उसने मेडिसिन ली थी, डॉक्टर्स का प्रिस्क्रिप्शन है, और सो दैट की कोरिलेशन कैन बी मेंटेन और वहाँ पर उसको कोई परेशानी ना हो। तो ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है बीटा एगोनिस्ट के बारे में हमको जानना कि ये मेडिसिन डोपिंग में आती हैं, बट थेरेपेटिक डोज परमिटेड है, और थेरेपेटिक डोज से ज़्यादा नहीं लेना चाहिए, और इसको डोपिंग कंट्रोल फॉर्म में ड्यूली मेंशन करवाना खिलाड़ी का एक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। हार्मोन एंड मेटाबॉलिक मॉड्यूलेटर्स नेक्स्ट कैटेगरी है, जिसमें कि मेडिसिन आती हैं। आप देख रहे हैं कि वर्ल्ड स्टार प्लेयर जो मारिया शरापोवा थी, और शी वाज गॉट पॉजिटिव फॉर दिस मेल्डोनियम सब्सटेंसेस coming under this category as 4 हार्मोन एंड मेटाबॉलिक मॉड्यूलेटर्स। और ये न्यूली लॉन्च हुई थी उस साल में जब ये 3 साल पहले डोपिंग में पॉजिटिव आई थी इस सब्सटेंस के लिए, और ये न्यू एडिशन था प्रोहिबिटेड लिस्ट में उस साल में, इसीलिए शी टोल्ड दैट शी वाज नॉट अवेयर अबाउट द फैक्ट दैट दिस पर्टिकुलर मेल्टोनियम इज आल्सो बैंड, बट इट इज बैंड, इट इज कमिंग अंडर द प्रोहिबिटेड लिस्ट कैटेगरी में वाडा के द्वारा जो मेंटेन की जाती है। एरोमेटेज इनहिबिटर्स इसमें आते हैं, जैसे कुछ होते हैं एंटी एस्ट्रोजेनिक सब्सटेंसेस, क्लोमिफेन, साइक्लोफेनाइल, ये मेडिसिन होती हैं कई बार डॉक्टर्स यूज करते हैं फीमेल पेशेंट को जो कि जिनको प्रॉब्लम होती है प्रेगनेंसी कंसीव करने में या किसी प्रकार का ओवुलेशन डिस्टर्ब होता है, फिजियोलॉजिकल डिसऑर्डर होते हैं, तो वहाँ पर डॉक्टर्स मेडिसिन को प्रेस्क्राइब करते हैं, बट इट इज अगेन कमिंग अंडर द प्रोहिबिटेड कैटेगरी। तो इसका मतलब यही है कि जब भी कोई खिलाड़ी मेडिसिन ले रहा है इस प्रकार की, तो डिक्लेरेशन बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है और उसको थेरेपेटिक यूज एग्जम्पशन अप्लाई करना है। थेरेपेटिक यूज एग्जम्पशन अप्लाई करना है इन एडवांस में, और उसकी परमिशन मिलने के बाद में ही ये मेडिसिन वो खिलाड़ी ले सकते हैं। उसका प्रोसीजर टीयू के बारे में मैं आपको अभी नेक्स्ट स्लाइड्स में बताऊंगा कि क्या उसके प्रोसीजर होते हैं और कैसे अप्लाई करते हैं। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। लास्ट कैटेगरी है जो पहले ग्रुप ऑफ मेडिसिन में है, डायोटिक्स एंड मास्किंग एजेंट्स। ये उन वेट कैटेगरी स्पोर्ट्स में इंपॉर्टेंट होता है जहाँ पर मिसयूज करते हैं खिलाड़ी, जैसे कि वेट लिफ्टिंग, रेसलिंग, जूडो, ताइक्वांडो, बॉक्सिंग, जहाँ पर उनको एक डिजायर्ड वेट कैटेगरी में परफॉर्म करना पड़ता है, और सो दैट उनका जो ओवर वेट है या एडिशनल वेट है वो रिड्यूस कर लें बाय टेकिंग दिस डायोटिक्स, एंड इट इज बैन, स्ट्रिक्टली बैन बाय वाडा ड्यूरिंग इन एंड आउट ऑफ कॉम्पिटिशन, ऑल टाइम्स इट इज बैन। डायोटिक्स लाइक बहुत सारे एग्जांपल हैं, एसिटाजोलामाइड, प्रोबेनोसिड एटसेट्रा, और ये मेडिसिन नहीं लेना है। कई बार डॉक्टर्स प्रिस्क्राइब करते हैं ड्यू टू एलिमेंट ऑफ एनी सिकनेस और किसी प्रकार के ट्रीटमेंट प्रोसीजर में, और वहाँ पर थेरेपेटिक यूज एग्जम्पशन का रोल आ जाता है कि वो इन्वेस्टिगेशन होने के बाद मेडिसिन ये कंजम्पशन हो सकता है खिलाड़ी के द्वारा जब टीयू उसको परमिट कर देता है, अदरवाइज इट इज ऑलवेज बैन्ड बाय वाडा। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। अभी तक हमने जो बात की वो सारे ऑल टाइम्स मेडिसिन कैटेगरी में आते थे, हर समय बैंड है खिलाड़ी के लिए। नेक्स्ट कैटेगरी है जो स्टिमुलेंट्स, नार्कोटिक्स, कैनाबोनाइड्स, ग्लूकोकॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड्स की। ये मेडिसिन जो होती हैं 4 प्रकार की, ये केवल कंपटीशन में ही डोपिंग में आती हैं, अदरवाइज ये आउट ऑफ कंपटीशन डोपिंग में नहीं आती। स्टिमुलेंट्स में एम्फेटामिन, मिथाइल हेक्सानिमीन, ये इसके एग्जांपल्स हैं, और जो एकाग्रता बढ़ा देते हैं, कई बार शॉर्ट ड्यूरेशन में खिलाड़ी की एक्टिविटीज बढ़ जाती है, जैसे कि इन कॉम्पिटिशन में बाउट्स के दौरान, और वहाँ पर ये मेडिसिन को बैन होती है। अब हम बात करते हैं कि कुछ कफ सिरप में, कुछ प्रकार के सप्लीमेंट्स में, एनर्जी ड्रिंक्स में ये स्टिमुलेंट्स भी आ जाते हैं। उसके लिए ये सावधानी बरतनी है आपको कि एक तो कफ सिरप की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो इसमें भी थ्रेशोल्ड रखा है, जैसे बीटा एगोनिस्ट में रखा है, बिकॉज ये कॉमनली यूज मेडिसिन हैं, डे टू डे पर्पज में इसको यूज किया जाता है हम लोगों के द्वारा, तो इसमें इसकी थ्रेशोल्ड मात्रा रखी गई है कि आप थेरेपेटिक डोज अगर लेंगे कफ सिरप की तो वो उस केस में यहाँ पर नहीं आएगा, पॉजिटिव नहीं आएगा। जैसे एफेड्रिन की बात करते हैं, सूडो एफेड्रिन की बात करते हैं, तो इसकी यूरिनरी कंसंट्रेशन रखी है, लाइक कफ सिरप अगर हम लेते हैं थेरेपेटिक डोज तो वो किसी भी केस में नॉर्मल से नहीं जाएगा। इन केस अगर वो जा भी जाता है तो फिर उसके लिए डिक्लेरेशन बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है। मैंने आपको बताया पहले भी कि खिलाड़ी को डिक्लेयर करना है डोप टेस्ट देते समय, और एज ए सपोर्ट स्टाफ कई बार टीम डॉक्टर या फिजियो और कोच ही रहते हैं जब डोप कंट्रोल होता है किसी भी कॉम्पिटिशन में या ट्रेनिंग कैंप्स में, तो वहाँ पर खिलाड़ी को अगर नहीं पता है तो आप उसको इंकरेज कर सकते हैं, बता सकते हैं कि ये डोपिंग कंट्रोल में आपने जो मेडिसिन ली है पिछले 1 हफ्ते में वो आप इसको ड्यूली मेंशन कर दीजिए। ये हेल्प ही करेगा किसी प्रकार से खिलाड़ी की, किसी प्रकार का कोई इसमें हर्ज नहीं है, और वो खिलाड़ी को डिक्लेयर करना चाहिए। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। नार्कोटिक्स नेक्स्ट कैटेगरी है, ये भी स्टिमुलेंट्स के जैसे ही नशीली दवाएं होती हैं जो सेंट्रल नर्वस सिस्टम पे, ब्रेन पे एक्ट करते हैं, और इसमें हीरोइन और अदर जो मेडिसिन हैं, डाइमॉर्फिन, मॉर्फिन, चरस एक्सेट्रा, ये इसमें बैन होती हैं, और ये किसी भी प्रकार से किसी को नहीं लेनी चाहिए, और ये एज ए लीगल हमारा जो पीनल एक्ट है या फिर गवर्नमेंट की जो रेगुलेशंस हैं, गाइडलाइंस हैं, उसके हिसाब से ये मेडिसिन भी इलीगल हैं और ये किसी को भी नहीं लेनी चाहिए। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। कैनाबोनाइड्स, इसमें भी मेडिसिन आती हैं जो कि कैनाबिस जिसको कहते हैं हशीश, मारिजुआना जिसके सिंथेटिक फॉर्म है टेट्राहाइड्रोकैनाबोनाइड्स THC, और ये भी मेडिसिन डोपिंग में आती हैं ड्यूरिंग कंपटीशन, क्योंकि ये शॉर्ट एक्टिंग मेडिसिन होती हैं और ये कई बार खिलाड़ी की बॉडी को एक्टिवेट कर देती है, स्टिमुलेट कर देती है फॉर ए शॉर्ट मोमेंट, और उसकी जो कैपेबिलिटी है या उसकी जो एकाग्रता है बढ़ जाती है और उससे ये परफॉर्मेंस में इनडायरेक्टली हेल्प कर देते हैं, और ये मेडिसिन बैन है, डोपिंग में आती हैं ड्यूरिंग कॉम्पिटिशन। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। ग्लूकोकॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड्स, ये मेडिसिन बहुत जरूरी है समझना कि इसमें ये मेडिसिन के रूट बैन है, ये किस रूट से ली जा रही है, शरीर में कंज्यूम की जा रही है, वो इंपॉर्टेंट है देखने के बाद। ऑल ग्लूकोकॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड्स आर प्रोवाइडेड व्हेन एडमिनिस्टर्ड बाय ओरली, इंट्रावेनसली, इंट्रामस्कुलर एंड रेक्टल रूट। आपने देखा होगा कि कई बार इंजरी में या किसी प्रकार की जॉइंट इन्फ्लेमेशन या किसी प्रकार की जॉइंट डिसऑर्डर्स में डॉक्टर यूज करते हैं इसको, ग्लूकोकॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड्स के इंजेक्शन देते हैं, इंट्राऑर्टिकुलर इंजेक्शन देते हैं, मीन्स जॉइंट्स में इंजेक्ट करने के बाद वो देते हैं। इंट्रामस्कुलर नहीं होता है, इंट्रावेनस नहीं होता है, ओरल नहीं होता है, इंट्राऑर्टिकुलर होता है। वो ग्लूकोकॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड्स परमिटेड होता है थ्रू दिस रूट। अगर किसी को नी इंजरी है या एंकल इंजरी है, एल्बो इंजरी है या किसी प्रकार का कोई जॉइंट इन्फ्लेमेशन है, तो ग्लूकोकॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड्स अगर ये मेडिसिन बाय ओरल रूट या इंट्रावेनस या इंट्रामस्कुलर रूट से लिया जा रहा है तो वो डोपिंग में आता है और वो अलाउड नहीं है। उसके लिए परमिशन चाहिए, थेरेपेटिक यूज एग्जेम्पशन की परमिशन होनी चाहिए। तो जो हम यहाँ पर बैठे हैं हमारे साथ में जो कुछ डॉक्टर्स भी हो सकते हैं या स्विमर्स हैं, उनके लिए ये बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट बात है कि ग्लूकोकॉर्टिकोस्टेरॉइड्स का अगर इंट्राऑर्टिकुलर लोकल रूट्स परमिटेड है, अदरवाइज ये ओरली, इंट्रावेनस, इंट्रामस्कुलर, रेक्टल रूट्स ये प्रोहिबिटेड रूट्स हैं और इसके लिए थेरेपेटिक यूज एग्जेम्पशन की आवश्यकता होती है। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। अभी हमने बात की जो इन कॉम्पिटिशन मेडिसिन जो प्रोहिबिटेड मेडिसिन होते हैं। अब हम बात करते हैं तीसरी कैटेगरी जो बास्केट है वो है मेडिसिन की जिसमें बीटा ब्लॉकर्स आते हैं, और ये कुछ ही स्पोर्ट्स में बैंड है, सभी स्पोर्ट्स में ये बैंड नहीं होते हैं, डोपिंग में नहीं आते हैं, क्योंकि इनका रोल लिमिटेड होता है। जैसे आप बात करेंगे, आप देख सकते हैं कि आर्चरी, शूटिंग, ऑटोमोबाइल, बिलियर्ड्स, गोल्फ, ये वो स्पोर्ट्स हैं जिनमें बीटा ब्लॉकर्स मेडिसिन बैन होती है। बीटा ब्लॉकर्स मेडिसिन क्या होती है बेसिकली, ये कई बार हार्ट पेशेंट को भी प्रिस्क्राइब की जाती है, ये हार्ट रेट बीट को कंट्रोल करने के लिए दिया जाता है डॉक्टर्स के द्वारा, बट उसका मिसयूज होता है ये आर्चरी, शूटिंग और ये गोल्फ में, बिलियर्ड्स में, बिकॉज ये हैंड ट्रेमर्स को कंट्रोल करते हैं और ये हार्ट रेट को, हार्ट बीट रेट को स्टेगनेंट करते हैं या कुछ समय के लिए उनको स्थिर करके ये एडवांटेज देते हैं, और ताकि वो ड्यूरिंग एमिंग ऑफ ऑब्जेक्ट और जब निशाना लगाते समय वो उनको एडवांटेज मिले और उनके हाथों में किसी प्रकार का संतुलन जो है मेंटेन रहे। नेक्स्ट वन, तो अभी तक हमने बात की जो प्रोहिबिटेड सब्सटेंसेज हैं, दवाएं हैं, ड्रग्स हैं जो बैन होती हैं, डोपिंग में आती हैं सभी के लिए, और अगर कोई खिलाड़ी डोपिंग में आ जाता है, पॉजिटिव आता है, तो ये उसके जो पनिशमेंट है, पेनाल्टी है और जो सैंक्शन होता है वो दिया जाता है। एंटी डोपिंग डिसिप्लिनरी पैनल, एंटी डोपिंग अपील पैनल है नाडा के साथ में जो करते हैं, और ये एज पर द एप्लीकेबल लॉ, एज पर द एप्लीकेबल डोपिंग कंट्रोल पॉलिसीज, जो एंटी डोपिंग रूल्स ऑफ नाडा है उसके तहत जो गिल्टी है, जो खिलाड़ी या किसी ने जो एंटी डोपिंग रूल वायलेशन कमिट किया है उसको ये पनिशमेंट मिलता है। क्या होता है, डिस्क्वालिफिकेशन ऑफ रिजल्ट्स। अगर कोई खिलाड़ी किसी इवेंट्स में या कंपटीशन में डोपिंग में लिप्त पाया गया या एंटी डोपिंग रूल वायलेशन हुआ है तो वो उसको डिस्क्वालीफाई हो जाता है ऑटोमेटिकली वो इवेंट और उसके जो प्राइज हैं या पोजीशन है। इसके साथ साथ इनएलिजिबिलिटी इम्पोज की जाती है, मीन्स उसको अपात्र घोषित कर दिया जाता है फॉर ए पर्टिकुलर पीरियड ऑफ बैन पीरियड के लिए उसको इनएलिजिबल मीन्स उसको पार्टिसिपेट करने से उसको मनाही हो जाती है और वो खेल नहीं सकता, स्पोर्टिंग एक्टिविटीज में पार्टिसिपेट नहीं कर सकता। अगर ये फर्स्ट एंटी डोपिंग रूल वायलेशन है, फर्स्ट टाइम डोपिंग में उसको आया है खिलाड़ी एंटी डोपिंग रूल वायलेशन के लिए, तो 4 ईयर का उसको 4 साल के लिए प्रतिबंध दिया जाता है, और स्पोर्टिंग एक्टिविटीज़ में वो 4 साल तक नहीं पार्टिसिपेट कर सकता। ये 4 साल का जो पीरियड है वो फर्दर रिडक्शन भी हो सकता है, जिसमें ये 2 साल या 1 साल या 3 महीने के लिए, डिपेंड करता है कि कौन सी मेडिसिन के लिए वो डोपिंग में पॉजिटिव आया है, किस प्रकार का एंटी डोपिंग रूल वायलेशन कमिट किया है, और एज पर द रूल्स ऑफ एंटी डोपिंग जो नाडा के रूल्स हैं उसमें उसको क्या गुंजाइश है, और उसने क्या एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया है, किन परिस्थितियों में उसने ये मेडिसिन ली, उसका लेवल ऑफ अवेयरनेस क्या था खिलाड़ी का, उसका बैकग्राउंड क्या था, उसकी उसकी जो फॉल्ट है किस हद तक वो सिग्निफिकेंट फॉल्ट में आता है या उसकी कोई भी फॉल्ट नहीं थी। ये सारे फैक्टर्स होते हैं जिनको देखने के बाद वो उसको पनिशमेंट किया जाता है। सेकेंड वायलेशन अगर होता है, उसी खिलाड़ी ने कोई पर्टिकुलर पीरियड इन एलिजिबल उसको कंप्लीट करने के बाद सेकेंड टाइम वो एंटी डोपिंग रूल वायलेशन कमिट करता है, तो वहाँ पर उसको सेकेंड वायलेशन टर्न किया जाता है, और ये 8 साल से लाइफ बैन का इसमें प्रोविजन है, जो कि बहुत ही बड़ा पीरियड होता है किसी भी स्पोर्ट्स पर्सन के लिए, और वहाँ पर कैरियर ऑलमोस्ट सीज हो जाता है। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। अब हम बात करते हैं 2-3 स्लाइड्स के बारे में थेरेप्यूटिक यूज एग्जेम्पशन, जो कि बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट एक प्रोसीजर है और सभी को पता होना चाहिए कि थेरेप्यूटिक यूज एग्जेम्पशन क्या है और कैसे खिलाड़ी उसका बेनिफिट ले सकते हैं। जैसे मैंने बताया कि एथलीट अगर कोई किसी बीमारी से ग्रस्त है या सिकनेस है उसको, तो और वो डॉक्टर के पास जाता है, क्वालिफाइड डॉक्टर फिजिशियन ये उसको इन्वेस्टिगेशंस के बाद में या उसके जो जांच है या किसी प्रकार की जो रिपोर्ट्स हैं उनके बाद में ये देखते हैं कि उसको वो बीमारी हो रखी है जिसके लिए जो दवा कारगर है वो प्रोहिबिटेड लिस्ट की कैटेगरी में आ रही है या वो बैंड है स्पोर्ट्स में खिलाड़ी के लिए, और उसको नॉर्मल कोर्स में नहीं दी जानी चाहिए। तो ये थेरेप्यूटिक यूज एग्जेम्पशन उस समय काम आता है, और ये मेडिसिन जो खिलाड़ी लेता है या ले सकता है, टीयूई कमेटी को अप्लाई करता है एप्लीकेशन। मीन्स अगर वो नेशनल लेवल का एथलीट है तो नेशनल स्पोर्ट फेडरेशन को भी टीयूई सबमिट कर सकता है एप्लीकेशन फॉर्म, अदरवाइज वो नेशनल एंटी डोपिंग अथॉरिटी नाडा को भी सबमिट कर सकता है। नाडा के पास थेरेप्यूटिक यूज एग्जेम्पशन कमेटी है जिसमें कि हाईली क्वालिफाइड मेडिसिन एक्सपर्ट्स, पल्मोनोलॉजिस्ट, आर्थोपेडिक सर्जन्स और भी कई सारे एक्सपर्ट्स होते हैं, जिसमें कि वो इस एप्लीकेशंस को, उस खिलाड़ी की फॉर्म को एनालाइज करते हैं, एग्जामिन करते हैं और देखते हैं कि इसको ये मेडिसिन की आवश्यकता क्यों है और कितने दिनों तक ये मेडिसिन को दी जा सकती है। अगर वो सारी क्राइटेरिया या कंडीशंस फुलफिल करते हैं तो वहाँ पर उस खिलाड़ी को ये टीयूई एग्जेम्पशन दिया जाता है टीयूई कमेटी के द्वारा, और खिलाड़ी उसको पर्टिकुलर मोमेंट या पीरियड के लिए वो मेडिसिन ले सकता है। लेकिन यहाँ पर एक खास बात यह है कि एक टीयूई फॉर्म होता है जो कि खिलाड़ी को अपने क्वालिफाइड फिजिशियन से सर्टिफाई करवाना होता है, और वो डॉक्टर उसको सर्टिफाई करता है कि ये डायग्नोसिस हुई है, ये इन्वेस्टिगेशन हुआ है और ये उसको बीमारी है जिसकी कोई अल्टरनेट मेडिसिन मार्केट में नहीं है, थेरेपेटिक मेडिसिन, और ये मेडिसिन ही उसको देनी है जो कि थेरेपेटिक, जो कि प्रोहिबिटेड सब्सटेंसेस की लिस्ट में आ रही है। तो वहाँ पर उसको वो मेडिसिन एग्जाम की जा सकती है अगर टीयूई कमेटी उसको एग्जामिन करने के बाद सही ठहराती है। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। क्राइटेरिया होते हैं, जैसे मैंने बताया कि टीयूई कमेटी इंडिपेंडेंट होती है जिसमें 3 या 4 एक्सपर्ट्स होते हैं, और वो ये देखते हैं कि जो खिलाड़ी को एप्लीकेशन आई है उसमें क्या क्या उसमें डॉक्टर ने मेंशन किया है और क्या उसकी जिम्मेदारी बनती है ये मेडिसिन लेने की। जैसे मैं आपको बता दूं कि क्राइटेरिया जो होते हैं, वो सबसे पहला क्राइटेरिया होता है कि अगर ये ट्रीटमेंट खिलाड़ी को नहीं दिया जाए जो उसका डॉक्टर, क्वालिफाइड डॉक्टर कह रहा है, तो उसकी जो हेल्थ है वो डिटेरियोरेट हो जाएगी या उसकी हेल्थ में इम्पेयरमेंट हो जाएगा या नॉर्मल हेल्दी लाइफ वो नहीं जी पाएगा। इसलिए ये इम्पॉर्टेंट है, वो मेडिसिन देना मस्ट है, ये पहला उसका क्राइटेरिया होता है। दूसरा इंपॉर्टेंट क्राइटेरिया होता है कि ये जो मेडिसिन अगर दी गई उसको, थेरेपेटिक यूज मेडिसिन, तो उसकी नॉर्मल कोर्स को, नॉर्मल हेल्दी लाइफ को ही अचीव करेगी, ये वहां तक इसको ले जाएगी, उसके ऊपर कोई उसको एडिशनल एनहांसमेंट ऑफ परफॉर्मेंस या किसी एक्स्ट्रा उसकी जो वो है परफॉर्मेंस को उसकी नहीं बढ़ाएगी, उसकी नॉर्मल हेल्दी लाइफ ट्रीटमेंट के लिए ही ये एप्लीकेबल होगी। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। और उसका कोई एडिशनल इफेक्ट नहीं होगा, एडिशनल एडवांटेज उसको खिलाड़ी को नहीं मिलेगा। तीसरा क्राइटेरिया है जो कोई रीजनेबल थेरेपेटिक अल्टरनेटिव नहीं है, मीन्स प्रोप्टेड मेडिसिन में जो मेडिसिन आ रही है उसी से ही इसका इलाज संभव है, कोई और मेडिसिन से इलाज संभव नहीं है। और क्राइटेरिया होता है जिसको कहते हैं कि द यूज इज नॉट ए कॉन्सिक्वेंसेज ऑफ ए प्रायर यूज, मतलब कि अगर कोई मेडिसिन पहले से ही यूज कर रखी है, उसके साइड इफेक्ट्स की तरीके से वो मेडिसिन यूज हो रही है या किसी प्रकार का उसमें टीयूई का रोल नहीं है, तो वो भी एक इम्पॉर्टेंट क्राइटेरिया होता है। उस केस में वो डिनाई हो सकता है अगर ऐसा देखा पाया जाता है। तो नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। खिलाड़ी की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी बनती है अंडर द रूल्स, अंडर द कोड, कि उसको जब भी कोई बीमारी हो, किसी भी प्रकार के इलाज के लिए डॉक्टर के पास में वो जा रहा है, तो वहां पर उसको ये बताना है, ये डिक्लेयर करना है डॉक्टर को कि वो एक खिलाड़ी है और उसको किसी भी प्रकार की कोई मेडिसिन जो कि डोपिंग कैटेगरी में आती है, प्रोहिबिटेड है, उसके लिए वो प्रेस्क्राइब ना की जाए। आप इसको एनलार्ज करेंगे नेक्स्ट स्लाइड में, आप देखेंगे ये जो आर्टिकल 221.1 रोल्स एंड रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द एथलीट्स में क्या कहते हैं। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। ये बड़ा ही इंपॉर्टेंट है क्योंकि कई बार खिलाड़ी ट्रीटमेंट लेने जाते हैं और वो ये छुपा लेते हैं या वो ये नहीं बताते कि वो एक खिलाड़ी हैं, और जो मेडिकल प्रैक्टिशनर है या फिजिशियन है वो उसको अननोइंगली वो मेडिसिन दे देता है जो भी डोप में आ रही है। तो आप देखेंगे इसमें ये आर्टिकल कहता है कि टू इन्फॉर्म, खिलाड़ी की एक रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि ही और शी हैज टू इन्फॉर्म मेडिकल पर्सनल of their obligation not to use prohibited substances and methods, and to take responsibility to make sure that any medical treatment does not violate anti-doping policies and rules adopted pursuant to the code. Means the athlete को voluntarily declare करना है, डॉक्टर को बताना है कि वो एक स्पोर्ट करते हैं, ये स्पोर्ट्स करते हैं और they are subject to the dope testing by authority, and in any case they should not consume any prohibited substances even एज प्रिस्क्राइब बाय द डॉक्टर। तो वहां पर डॉक्टर्स की को भी उसको पता लग जाता है कि हाँ ये खिलाड़ी है, इसको ये मेडिसिन, और अगर डॉक्टर को नहीं पता है तो खिलाड़ी को ये एक प्रोहिबिटेड लिस्ट, लेटेस्ट जो वर्जन है 2020 या आगे भी जो आएगा 2021 में, उसको एक कॉपी उसको अपने मोबाइल पे या स्मार्टफोन में या किसी भी प्रकार की बुकलेट के फॉर्म में उसको रखनी चाहिए, और वो डॉक्टर को कंसल्ट कर सकता है कि ये मेडिसिन हैं जो कि उसको नहीं देनी है। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। अब थेरेपेटिक यूज एग्जेम्पशन अप्लाई करना है। अगर डॉक्टर ये कहता है खिलाड़ी को कि आपको ये मेडिसिन हैं जो कि आप को जरूरी है और ये प्रोहिबिटेड लिस्ट में आ रही है, तो वहां पर खिलाड़ी का रोल आता है कि अप्लाई फॉर टीयूई ईच टाइम व्हेन द डॉक्टर प्रिस्क्राइब एनी पर्टिकुलर प्रोहिबिटेड सब्सटेंसेस। डू नॉट टेक प्रोहिबिटेड सब्सटेंसेस विदाउट टीयूईसी। खिलाड़ी की जिम्मेदारी कि जब तक उसको टीयूई कमेटी से परमिशन नहीं मिल जाती या उसका जो रिजल्ट है उसको नहीं मिल जाता टीयूई कमेटी का, तब तक वो मेडिसिन वो प्रिस्क्राइब जो डॉक्टर ने की है उसको ना ले, बिकॉज एथलीट आर ओनली रिस्पॉन्सिबल फॉर एनी काइंड्स ऑफ कंजम्पशन ऑफ प्रोहिबिटेड सब्सटेंसेस। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। टीयूई प्रोसेस की जहाँ तक हम बात करते हैं तो ये बहुत ही आसान और साधारण प्रक्रिया है। टीयूई फॉर्म खिलाड़ी को डाउनलोड करना पड़ता है, हमारी वेबसाइट पर अवेलेबल है, नहीं है तो आप फ़ोन करके ईमेल से ले सकते हैं। ये 3 पेज का आसान सा फॉर्म है जिसको कि डॉक्टर के द्वारा जो ट्रीटमेंट कर रहा है, जो डॉक्टर प्रिस्क्राइब कर रहा है मेडिसिन, इलाज कर रहा है खिलाड़ी का, उसके द्वारा उसको फिल करना होता है, सर्टिफाई करना पड़ता है, पूरा एक्सप्लेन करना पड़ता है केस को कि भाई क्या इन्वेस्टिगेशन, उसके साथ में जांच रिपोर्ट और इन्वेस्टिगेशन रिपोर्ट्स भी लगानी पड़ती है, और उसके बाद उसको फॉर्म को सबमिट करना पड़ता है नाडा के द्वारा। कैसे सबमिट कर सकते हैं? बाई ईमेल कर सकते हैं, बाई फैक्स, बाई पोस्ट, किसी भी मीन से, बाई पर्सनल किसी भी मैसेंजर्स के द्वारा लाके वो हमारे ऑफिस में उसको सबमिट करना पड़ता है। अगर खिलाड़ी को नाडा का ऑफिस का नहीं पता है तो वो अपने कंसर्न नेशनल स्पोर्ट फेडरेशन को, जैसे स्विमिंग की बात करें तो हम स्विमिंग को फेडरेशन को वो सबमिट कर सकते हैं नेशनल लेवल का अगर खिलाड़ी है तो, और वो फेडरेशन फिर हमको उसको फॉरवर्ड कर सकती है वो एप्लीकेशन, ताकि हम अपनी टीयूई कमेटी के द्वारा उसको एग्जामिन करके जो भी नेसेसरी उसमें प्रक्रिया है वो की जा सके। टीयूईसी थेरेपेटिक यूज एग्जेम्पशन कमेटी डिसाइड करती है खिलाड़ी की एप्लीकेशन पर ऑन द बेसिस ऑफ इन्वेस्टिगेशन कि उसको वो मेडिसिन की परमिशन देनी है या नहीं देनी है। नेशनल लेवल एथलीट्स, जैसे मैंने पहले बताया कि नेशनल लेवल एथलीट नेशनल एंटी डोपिंग एजेंसी या नेशनल फेडरेशन को अप्लाई कर सकते हैं। इंटरनेशनल लेवल के जो एथलीट हैं जो इंटरनेशनल पूल में आते हैं और वो डायरेक्टली इंटरनेशनल फेडरेशन को अप्लाई कर सकते हैं। यहाँ पर ये डिस्क्रिप्शन इसलिए है क्योंकि इंटरनेशनल लेवल के जो एथलीट हैं उनका टीयूई इंटरनेशनल फेडरेशंस के द्वारा ही मान्य होता है। अगर वो नेशनल अथॉरिटी ने उनको TUE दिया हुआ है तो नेशनल लेवल पे तो वो एक्सेप्टेबल होगा, लेकिन अगर इन केस वो इंटरनेशनल कंपटीशन में पार्टिसिपेट कर रहे हैं और वहां पर उसकी जरूरत पड़ गई तो वो इंटरनेशनल बॉडी उसको रिफ्यूज कर सकती है, या वो कह सकती है कि इसको आप फिर से रीसबमिट करें हमारे पास ताकि इसको हम एग्जामिन कर पाए। अब वो टाइमलाइन क्या होता है, अप्लाई TUE इन 30 डेज एडवांस। 30 दिन के पहले खिलाड़ी को मेडिसिन अगर लेनी है तो उसके लिए TUE अप्लाई करना पड़ता है, सो दैट कि हम TUE कमेटी के द्वारा उसको एनालाइज करवा पाएँ और जो उसके नेसेसरी जो रिजल्ट्स हैं या जो किसी प्रकार की अगर कोई उन्होंने क्वेरी है या क्लैरिफिकेशन मांगा है या और फर्दर कुछ डॉक्यूमेंट्स की जरूरत पड़ रही है तो उसको वो दे सकें, इसलिए 30 डेज का टाइम पीरियड इसमें रखा गया है। नेक्स्ट स्लाइड प्लीज। ये तो 30 डेज का टाइम पीरियड हो गया जो कि प्लान ट्रीटमेंट के लिए जरूरत है, जहां पर कोई इमरजेंसी दवाएं की जरूरत नहीं है किसी भी स्पोर्ट पर्सन्स को जो ट्रीटमेंट लेना चाह रहा है। अब हम बात करते हैं उन मेडिसिन की, उन ट्रीटमेंट की जो इमरजेंसी मेडिसिन होती हैं या फिर क्रिटिकल कंडीशंस में डॉक्टर उनको देना चाहता है, तो वहां पर उस केस के लिए रेट्रोएक्टिव TUE अप्रूवल की भी प्रोसीजर है। मीन्स रेट्रोएक्टिव का मतलब होता है मेडिसिन पहले ले ली इमरजेंसी कंडीशंस में खिलाड़ी ने और उसके बाद TUE उसको परमिशन दी जा रही है। तो इमरजेंसी ट्रीटमेंट में जैसा कि आप देखेंगे कि डॉक्टर, जो ट्रीटिंग डॉक्टर है, वही डिसाइड करता है कि ये पेशेंट की कंडीशन इमरजेंसी है या नहीं है और इसको किस प्रकार की दवाई उस समय देनी है। और वहाँ पर अगर ये डॉक्टर डिसाइड करता है कि इमरजेंसी था और मेडिसिन में और टाइम नहीं था खिलाड़ी के पास में उसको एडवांस अप्लाई करने के लिए या परमिशन लेने के लिए, तो उस केस में जो मेडिसिन वो ले रहा है उसको ले लेनी है खिलाड़ी को डॉक्टर के द्वारा प्रिस्क्राइब की हुई, और बाद में उसको जैसे ही वो 2-3 दिन या 4 दिन के बाद ठीक होता है या उस कंडीशन में होता है कि उसको वो TUE फॉर्म भर के दे सकता है अपने अथॉरिटी को, तो वो उसको अप्लाई कर सकता है। और रेट्रोएक्टिव केस में हम उसको TUE कमेटी से उसका अप्रूवल या उसका एग्जामिनेशन कर सकते हैं। बट नॉर्मल केस में ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि खिलाड़ी उसको मेडिसिन पहले ले लिया और उसके बाद वो TUE फॉर्म भर के अप्लाई कर रहा है। उस केस में TUE रिजेक्ट हो सकता है और उसका फिर अंजाम खिलाड़ी के लिए मुश्किल हो सकता है, क्योंकि डोपिंग की मेडिसिन अगर उसमें वो आ गई तो फिर उसमें वो उसको कॉम्प्लिकेशन हो सकते हैं और उस प्रकार की फिर वो उसको दिक्कतें हो सकती हैं। तो आई होप कि आप लोगों को ये जो मैंने जानकारी दी है कुछ आपके नॉलेज को अपग्रेड करने के लिए या आपके जो नॉर्म्स हैं या जो कोच में आपका स्पोर्ट्स में आपका जो योगदान है उसको अपग्रेड करने में आपको हेल्प मिलेगी। और विद दिस आई मस्ट थैंक्स टू एवरी पार्टिसिपेंट और फॉर योर पेशेंट हियरिंग एंड सपोर्टिंग मी फॉर any kinds of things. And before I conclude my session, as you know that our Honorable Director General is also joining with us for interacting you people. And next slide, please. I will check it that whether he has already joined or next slide, please. Next one, please. Yes, before I conclude my session, I will also request you all that for more information for any future update with regard to the anti-doping things and all, so you as a participant, you can come to our page, our social media page like Twitter and Facebook, so that you can follow us, you can check regular updates from NADA, and in any case of further information, you can easily get in touch with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Ankush Gupta. It was a wonderful presentation. So as like our regular sessions, we do have few question and answer series right after the presentation. So before our Director General of National Anti-Doping Agency joins, we will start shooting few questions, and once he joined, we will request him to address us, and then we will continue. Dr. Ankush, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, are you ready to take some questions?
Just a minute, I will check it with my DG, and
sure.
Just 1 minute.
In the meanwhile, Nikita, just check Mr. Naveen Agarwal, DG NADA, whether he
hasn't joined yet. I've checked. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Hello.
Is it him? Administration NADA India 374624.
Just unmute him and we could ask him that whether.
He has muted himself.
I was just listening for a brief while the presentation that was being made by our PO, and I'm happy to clarify any doubts that anyone may be having. I believe on the chat there are a number of doubts that are there, but we haven't followed what is there on the chat. So one by one, if you could give opportunity to everyone to say whatever they have to say, and we'll be happy to answer them.
Sure, sir.
At the outset,
before,
sir, let us welcome you. I'm Mr. Choksi, the Secretary of SFI, on behalf of Swimming Federation of India on this session. So welcome to you, sir. Thank you for sparing the time.
Thank you.
Partha, you can
yes.
move.
For all the participants, let us welcome Sri Naveen Agarwal, the Director General and CEO of National Anti-Doping Agency. He is a senior IPS officer of Jammu and Kashmir cadre with 33 years of distinguished service to his credit. He is currently on the Central Deputation since 2016 with Government of India heading the Dope Control Agency at the national level and bringing about reform in the policy and procedures to make dope control more effective and transparent in India and enabling a level playing field for clean sportsperson. He is also instrumental in establishing the National Sports University as its then interim Vice Chancellor. We welcome you, sir. And as Monal Choksi sir introduced himself, I just like to introduce him again. Monal Choksi sir is the Secretary General of Swimming Federation of India. Generally, at the end of the session, we ask the participants to put their question in the group, and it has been the question will be addressed on behalf of participant by myself and Monal Choksi sir.
Okay.
Welcome,
good.
sir.
Yes,
we'll
please.
kick off with a question from Shikha Tandon. Shikha is an ex-Olympian from India, multiple times Olympian, and she has spent 7 years in working with the US Anti-Doping Agency. So she has worked on the other side of the doping administration as well. Her question is, what is NADA's education strategy outside of camps? Since the list is updated every year, how is it communicated to every athlete and coach?
Yeah, that's really a good and a very relevant question. As far as education programs are concerned, we do hold the education programs, the anti-doping education programs in the camps. But all the same, we are also organizing various camps in various sessions in universities and colleges and in various stadia across the country. And also we offer the education programs at the time of major competitions, for instance, like the Khelo India Youth Games and the Khelo India University Games. Before that, we asked all the athletes who were there to take part in the competition and who have not earlier undergone any education program that they should come and they should attend our sessions, and those were very successful, in fact. So now what we intend to do from next year is that every athlete who takes part in a competition, before he takes part in a competition, he should be subject to an anti-doping education program. And before that, we also intend to start our online program, which will begin very soon. And I believe, like this session that the Swimming Federation has organized, we would like to address all the participants, whether the coaches or the athletes, through our online programs, because right now it is not possible under the lockdown circumstances to hold a face-to-face offline session. So that would be there, and we would also be issuing certificates to everyone who undergoes our NADA's education program. And in fact, we want that before any athlete is subject to dope control, it would be better that he has undergone a anti-doping education program.
Thank you very much, sir. An extension of that question is, would you clarify the definition of in competition period with respect to the rules that NADA follows? So what is a period which is considered in competition?
The rules are defined by the WADA code also, and the same rules have been adopted by NADA. The people who are taking part in the competition, so from one day before competition to one day thereafter. So that is what we take as in competition, and beyond that period, we take as out of competition.
So -1 plus 1 is the answer, besides the days of the competition.
Come again,
Partha,
please.
would you take some of the questions?
Sure. I'll start with our national coach, Mr. Pradeep Kumar's question. The Salbutamol requires TUE. Sometimes even after submitting all the relevant details, submit with TUE, no reply comes from India.
See, on TUE, I would like to clarify that the normal procedure is that one has to apply for TUE a month in advance before he intends to take a medicine, or as soon as he has been prescribed a medicine, he should apply before he starts consuming a medicine, and we assure that within 1 month thereof, the matter would be decided. But what you are referring to, we have seen a number of instances where people have already started taking medicine, and in fact, they have after that they have been tested and they have come positive, dope positive, and after that they apply. So such things are not permitted. So we don't entertain any such applications. What the PO in his briefing had mentioned was the retrospective TUE that is only meant for emergency conditions, because we believe the health of the athlete is more important, his recovery is more important than what has been which goes beyond the rules. And in those cases, we can, as an exception, we can make an exception in such cases. But it has to be a real emergency, and it has to be proven beyond doubt that yes, there was a condition where his life, the life of the athlete was in danger had he not consumed that medicine.
Thank you, sir. It has been seen in real life of coaching that, and this has been asked by many coaches in different format today, that in real coaching, what happens is sometimes kids come and ask about the supplements to the coaches. They ask about the kind of protein they are supposed to consume to the coaches. And just before the meet, if they get fever or something, they ask for the paracetamol as to be mentioned by the coaches. So how, as a coach, will identify that, and is there any particular protocol for a coach to identify which are the protein substances they are supposed to address to the kids, which kind of substances for practice they are supposed to address the kids or medicine?
See, firstly, I would say that if a child is getting a balanced, proper, nutritious diet, he or she doesn't need any supplements. But if there could be some cases where there is a deficiency of a particular substance as prescribed by a doctor or a nutritionist or a qualified nutritionist at that. And if that athlete has been prescribed a certain supplement, then it has to be examined with regard to the manufacturer and the credibility of the manufacturer, and whether a quick internet search may be done to see whether that particular supplement has not led to any doping issue in the past for any athlete around the world. So only those cases should be, in such cases only the athlete should be advised with regard to taking that supplement. And as far as any medicine is concerned, I would strongly recommend that any case where medicine is required, it should go to the concerned sports doctor, and the athlete should carry a booklet that we normally issue. It is also available on our website, whereby all the prescribed, all the prohibited medicines have been mentioned, and the athlete should show it to the concerned doctor that these are the prohibited items for me. I'm an athlete, and these I hope that you're not prescribing me any of the medicines which contain any of these ingredients. Self-medication is not desirable in any case.
Okay, this question has been came from Coach Nihar Amin, one of our Dronacharya coach, very reputed coach. I have not seen even a single NADA program at the state or national championship. Neither I have seen any testing done in the last national championship.
Well, it's for him. I don't know where all he has seen it, and we have conducted more than 3,800 tests in the last year, and we have carried out, I believe, 98 education and awareness programs throughout the country in the last 1 year, which is a record of sorts.
Thank you, sir. Monal sir, would you like to point out a few questions?
This technical question where somebody is asking, there are many natural ways to increase RBC. Is that considered a doping violation?
No, not at all. If somebody is taking iron supplements and his RBC count is increasing, he has got a good hemoglobin count. He's perfectly within his means to increase the hemoglobin count. There is absolutely no bar on it. But if somebody is taking hemoglobin from outside, if one is injecting blood or RBC into his blood, so that is a violation. Even if you're using your own blood, there have been instances where people have got their blood out when they're not supposed to take part in a competition and stored it. And just before the competition, they've injected their own blood in their body to increase their RBC count. Even that is even that is considered a violation, and we are able to detect such instances.
Thank you, sir. There is a question on the use of creatinine monohydrate and beta-alanine. Is this legally allowed?
Well, one has to see the list. It is updated every year. It is available on our website. It can be checked from there.
So the concerned person can go to the website and download the list of substances.
Yes, there are more than 300 names in the list, so
yeah,
one has to check it from there.
Okay. There's a question on the accreditation of the NADA lab by WADA. The question is, when can we expect the accreditation which has been currently suspended to be re-established?
It's not a NADA lab. It is an autonomous lab. It is absolutely independent of NADA, and we have nothing to do with that lab. It is the National Dope Testing Lab, and it is one of the 33 labs around the world which do the dope testing. For some reasons, it is right now it is not conducting the test, but that doesn't in any manner affect our dope control program. We've been sending. We continue to take samples and send the samples to any other WADA accredited lab in the world. So that should not bother the athletes at all.
Partha, have you spotted any questions?
Yeah, I can see some of the question which is already discussed. So, is there any difference regarding the punishment from European nation, American nation, and India and NADA in terms of any foul made by athlete?
No, absolutely not. The rules are the same all over the world. It applies equally to all the athletes around the world, irrespective of the country to which the athlete belongs.
Pardon the delay, sir, but we have to look for the relevant questions. There are a lot of junk questions which would not be really suitable for the session or relevant to the session, as I would say more.
I hope most of the athletes must and the coaches must have got a fair idea of what anti-doping all deals with, and why it is important for them to be advising their trainees. In fact, when you asked about the education program, I would say that the first education program is to be held by the coach himself to the athlete. It's just like we say the mother is the first teacher of a child. Similarly, for any athlete, the coach is the first educator. And when he teaches the techniques of the game to a particular athlete, then I believe this anti-doping awareness also has to be imparted by the coach himself or herself to the athlete. And the most influence wielder on the athlete is the coach. He plays the most important part in the athlete's upbringing, and it is the coach whose advice the athlete follows the most. We may be telling, if we hold a session with the athlete, we tell him something, perhaps he may listen or he may not listen, but if the coach tells him that, see, this is doping and this is something which is to be avoided, you should not do it, so I'm sure that the athlete would listen to him. So it is very important that in fact today's session is very important in this respect, that most of the important coaches of the Swimming Federation, they are here, and they have heard our viewpoint, and I'm sure that they would be able to brief their own athletes in their own way what amounts to doping and why and how they should avoid doping.
Certainly, sir. Couldn't agree more. And Dr. Ankush has very effectively categorized the various type of doping rules and doping substances, the various categories under which you can be caught for a doping violation. And I'm sure the coaches who have participated in today's program have, if not earlier been educated, are now more educated and aware on what kind of role they need to play and what are the applicable rules to doping. There have been some questions earlier while Partha is looking for relevant questions. I had read a question which says, at what level of competition do the doping rules start being applicable? I think there is a misunderstanding in the person who is asking the question. Therefore, I seek your clarification.
No, no problem. We are here to clarify. See, the doping rules apply to all athletes and for all competitions. Even if it is a school competition, it applies there also. If it is a district level competition, the doping rules apply there also. They apply to the state level competitions also, to national and international also. But normally what we do is that at the district the basic school level, we do not expose the small kids to dope tests and to dope control. Therefore, we prefer if the coaches themselves could educate them. But if we get information about somebody doping, then there is no bar as such on us going and doing the testing over there. So we have done dope control at the state level competitions also, and in a few cases in the district level competitions also. But normally we don't go to that level. In fact, we have our own resource constraints, and we normally tend to do most of the tests at the national level and for the international level players. But we certainly at the state level is very important, and we do not want any athlete to be doping and reaching the national level. So that is the most important level, the state level, where we intend to increase the dope control program. But the rules apply even at the district level, at the school level. They apply uniformly to all.
Thank you, sir, for the clarification.
This has been asked by one of the coaches that as a coach, he can approach to NADA if he found that some athletes are in violation of rule, or they might be consumed, or he is assuming that some athletes is consuming something which is not advisable.
Yes, absolutely. We entertain all sorts of information. We do a screening of the information and take appropriate action. We also have a speaker program on our website where they can anonymously also inform us of any such doping activity, or they can send us a mail through email. They can inform us, or through telephonically. In whatever way they inform us, we normally tend to keep the identity of the informer secret. But the informer, if the informer wants to convey it in an anonymous manner, then we have to be cautious whether the informer is actually giving us the information correct, or he's giving out that information just to harass somebody, or to or out of some prejudice or something else. So if the identity of the informer is clear to us, then it has more weight, the information has more weight, and we tend to take appropriate action. Although we normally ensure that the informant's information is not disclosed to others.
Thank you, sir. Monal sir, you would like to point out something?
There is a question. It's not actually a question, but a request by our national coach Pradeep Kumar. The request is that, can you explain more detail about whereabouts information? This could be helpful for all coaches and swimmers.
See, for whereabouts, the whereabouts program pertains to the registered testing pool. We have a pool of about 100 or so national level players who are important to us and who have a tendency of doping as per our risk assessment program. So only those players who are in the registered testing pool, they are supposed to submit their whereabouts. Others are not supposed to submit their whereabouts. Only the pools in the players in the registered testing pool, and we notify such players that your name has been entered in the registered testing pool, and so this is the whereabouts requirement that you have to submit. Now, what is the whereabouts requirement? It is that for every 3 months in advance, that concerned player who is in the registered testing pool, he has to submit his location, that where he would be present every day for the next 3 months, and he has to give a 1 hour slot where a dope control officer can come without advance notice and do his dope test. So if he fails to give a whereabouts information, if he fails to submit the correct information, or if he has submitted an information and a dope control officer goes there at that assigned time and place and doesn't find him, so then it is considered a missed test, or whereabouts filing failure. And if there are 3 such failures in a 12-month period in succession, then it is considered that that particular athlete is trying to avoid getting dope tested, and he perhaps has doped, and then it is considered anti-doping rule violation, and then the action follows, that he is placed in the suspension, and whatever the penalty is imposed upon him.
Thank you, sir. One of our coach want to know that is there any anti-doping class or clinics available in Indian scenario or NADA as like some other foreign countries?
No, I couldn't get the question. Come again, please.
There's a coach called Mr. Vinay Marathe, senior coach. He want to know, is there any anti-doping class or course offered by NADA online in online system?
Okay, yeah, we are developing a app. Very shortly it would be launched, and in that there would be a education program. A small session would be there. Some basic information about anti-doping would be there, followed by some questions. And if the athlete answers 60% of the questions correctly, he would be issued a certificate also. So that kind of anti-doping education program we are working on, and I'm sure it would be launched this month.
Thank you, sir. That will answer his question.
So, Partha, while you're looking for that,
Right.
I'll address the DG. Sir, on the question of whereabouts and the identified pool for testing, I bring to light and attention, and on this context, I would like to ask, what are the rights of an athlete? A recent example where we had our B qualified athletes for the Olympics for 2020, which has now been pushed back. So they were under the testing pool, and the WADA team arrived at the city where the athletes reside. There were multiple athletes in that city, and the WADA team generally comes unannounced, which is obviously the protocol to be followed. However, the athlete in question trains at Academy A, and the WADA team which arrived at Academy B, where there were more athletes also. In that situation, the athlete training at Academy A was told to report to Academy B within an hour. Now, given Bangalore's distances, given that the athlete was in training, is this the right protocol to be followed? Should not the WADA team go to the academy or the whereabouts location which the athlete would have declared if he is in the testing pool?
Absolutely, the team would only go to the place where he has already declared, but perhaps he would have declared at some other location and he failed to update his current location. That is what I can say. But
that was not the case, sir. But since the obviously the team would know that, okay. So I bring this to your attention for proper administration of the athletes' rights also, because sometimes when the athletes would fear a marker or a violation, so they are forced to comply. But this is not the correct way of going about it.
Absolutely, I fully agree with you. If he has given the location, then the anti-doping team has to come at that location only. It cannot come at another location and ask the athlete to come to that location. So there's no doubt about it. I don't know how it happened, and you were saying it was the WADA team.
NADA team,
no, the NADA team would never have done it. If it has happened, kindly do let us know about it, and we'll take appropriate action against any person who has defaulted on that.
The idea is just to bring it to your attention so that this a little more apathy or empathy towards the athletes is shown.
No, absolutely, we have zero tolerance for any violation of the protocol and the rules. If somebody has done a mistake in this, then we'll certainly take action, and it should be an example for others also not to be doing it. But I believe there was some communication gap between in this, that the update his location was not updated, and perhaps he continued with the previous location, whereas the athlete actually moved to another location. But we'll have to examine it. I don't want to jump to any conclusion.
No problem, sir.
Sincerely request you to send us this case, the details of this case, so that we see where the fault was. And
we will certainly do that, and we are not seeking a kind of a redressal here. Just a clarification on the athlete's rights. What can the athlete refuse?
He is within his rights not to go to any other location. He is free to be at any location wherever he wants to, but it is his responsibility to update his location. Maybe for the next 3 months he has given a particular location, but after some time he has to change his location. Then he is also free to change the location in the Adams and update his location in the Adams. And whatever his location be, the dope control officer in that 1 hour slot would go only to that place and no other place.
So thank you so much for the clarifications.
He's well within his rights to refuse to go to any other location, and it would just not be considered any violation on part of the athlete.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. I think more or less the major questions are over. I just want to put one simple question by one of the coaches, that can we invite NADA team for any competition, or it is their own call?
In fact, we would be happy if you call us, and if there is any competition, and if you want an advice, either to hold a education program, we would be happy to do before the competition begins, or if you want a testing to be organized, then also we would be happy to do the testing. But we want all federations to give us their annual program in advance, which are the major competitions that they would be conducting, where and when. And accordingly, because we plan out our dope test plan well in advance. So if you inform us annually, if you give us the details of all the competitions that you would be holding through the year, we would and also let us know which are the important ones from your point of view, we would certainly consider doing the dope testing there. But if suddenly some other competition also comes up, which is important, and you feel that dope testing should be held there, then also if you inform us in advance, sufficiently in advance, maybe preferably a month earlier, if not a month, then at least minimum a week earlier, we would be happy to do the dope control program there.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Monal sir, seems like, more or
There are
less the
some
major
questions, but
questions.
I somehow don't think this type of questions are good
Yes.
to be posed to the DG.
Correct.
If Dr. Ankush is on the panel, then probably some of these questions can be posed. But I would not like to pose this, very technical questions to the DG. But I'll give an example. Somebody is asking that if a swimmer is not well and is taking IV fluid just before a swimming event, will this boost the performance in any way?
No, taking a glucose injection or something is not prohibited. One can take it, and there is no problem.
Thank you, sir, for taking that question. And there have been some questions on isotonic drinks and fueling drinks, but obviously that would depend on the brand and the contents.
Absolutely. So, there should be no doping substance in that. No prohibited substance should be that in that drink of fluid. So to that extent, it is permitted.
And for the information of everyone, there is a app that WADA has, a mobile phone app also. And the website and all these banned substances manuals and updated lists are available on the WADA as well as NADA website. So coaches have to update their knowledge in this aspect, goes without saying.
Yeah, that's right.
I believe, Partha, we are more or less covered all the
I guess so, yes.
But we thank DG sir for sparing the time to be with us today, especially from the Swimming Federation of India.
It was a pleasure for me, in fact, to be interacting with the coaches and to remove all doubts with regard to anti-doping and to see all of you. And would be happy to do such programs with your, in fact, with your athletes as well. And in fact, if their parents also athletes, if they want any clarifications, because they're also quite big influencers, and particularly the younger ones. So we would be happy to do any such programs with other stakeholders, the Swimming Federation.
Thank you, sir. We'll certainly take that up.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ankush. It has been a wonderful presentation. And,
I hope so. But we look forward to any kind of,